Collins, Mullen. Mullen on your right, McDuffie on your left. Grixis Death Shadow, Eldrazi Tron, both these players 6-1. Important match for both of them if they're looking to make day 2 because the cut here with 960 players is almost certainly going to be 7-2. So winner of this match likely going to move on as that is an expedition map off an Urza's Tower. So if Korey didn't know what Collins was up to before, he certainly does now as round number 8 is underway. Scalding Tarn.
Is this the nightmare opening for you at the Pro Tour? Your opponent going Tron piece, map, and you're just being like, why didn't I do this?
Depends on what I play. Depends on what I play.
Okay.
Look, the fact that I might not do that at the Pro Tour is horrifying to me.
Right.
I have an experience at a Pro Tour where I did not think White Weenie was good enough at Pro Tour Amsterdam because of Punishing Fire, Growth of the Burn Willows, and it won and destroyed the tournament. And after the tournament was over, I was just like, I'm an idiot. So I don't want to be on the outside looking in, that's for sure. So here's the Thoughtseize. Eldrazi Temple, Wastes, Mattery Shaper, and Walking Ballista is the hand. I really do feel like I'm just going to roll the die and decide what deck I'm going to play. Between like Tron, Burn.
That definitely feels like flying halfway around the world and determining your deck that way is wise.
I'm glad you agree. I'm glad you agree. I don't know. Maybe Jerry's got a good deck. that's normally my
Jerry.
That's normally my go-to plan. Hey man, you're smarter than me. What you got? Collins will play an Eldrazi Temple. He'll pass the turn back over to McDuffie. I did play Eldrazi Tron at a local in Cleveland 2 weeks ago.
How was that?
Went 3-1. I beat Death Shadow.
Played in a local, huh?
Yeah, local game store that I grew up at, Ground Zero Comics in Strongsville, Ohio. Go there, it's sweet. It is sweet. Hadn't been there for a handful of years. Just it seriously felt like I was 18 again. It was fantastic. Just played like some local store credit tournament and just like, this is awesome.
It is sweet.
This is awesome. Wish I could just do this every day again.
Hang out with the grifters and grinders.
Same store owner.
Yeah.
Marcus Ben. He's the nuts. It was a wonderful experience. Adam Franzi brought my deck for me.
Win $5 in store credit coming in top 8. Spend it on like a soda.
No, I got like that. Jeez, you screwed your customers. Jeez.
No, well you have the $4 left after that.
Oh, okay. My bad. No, I am. I went like 3-1. I think I got like $25 in store credit. I just gave it to Franzi and left because like he gave me the deck. So it was actually a lot of fun. E-Tron's pretty good. Here's a Thought Scour. Tassiger. Thoughts he's going to go to the graveyard. Draw a card. Picked up a copy. It looks like an Opt, I think. Yeah, it's an Opt. A follow-up. Gurmag Angler. There goes the graveyard. That'll be 6 cards.
That's the draw.
That's dead now.
That was also a good draw.
That was a good draw, yeah. That is no longer alive. Let's go over to Collins. See what his third turn is going to be. Collins wrote an interesting article this week over on Star City Games where he basically talked about how he kind of approaches Magic with regards to, focusing on the things he can control, not focusing on the things he can't worry about, like die rolls and mana screw, mana flood, things like that. He's number 2 right now on the SCG Tour leaderboard. Really no surprise there. Had a really good close to last year, won that Open in Cincinnati. And one of the things that I've noticed from Collins as we watch him play, kind of methodical, actually a lot like Korey is too, but he never makes any decision too quick. And it's really always just kind of thinking things through.
Yeah, definitely a patient player.
Yeah.
Sure.
And not in like for me, it's not in a bad or like frustrating way. It's just like he doesn't rush through anything, which is a really, really good quality to have, even if you are in an advantageous position. Very thoughtful about his play. Korey is going to Thoughtseize now. He knows about the Walking Ballista that's over there, and that's it. A tower and a Wastes. That's what Mullen is working with. So the top of his deck is going to have to be pretty kind here.
Yeah, has no Tron, so he's not top decking all that powerfully. And he also doesn't have any sort of threat card.
And no answer for Death Shadow either. As we're going to go back over to Mullen. He draws a card. Well, he drew a Dismember again.
Good draw step.
Yeah, I would kill it now.
That draw step's probably better than drawing any of his threat cards. You can't imagine they're good in this spot.
Yep, there is Dismember. Death Shadow down. Korey saw his hand, knows he peeled that one. We'll go back over to McDuffie, see if he's got another threat. Drew a Swamp. There we go. It'll be a Thought Scour. Pluto Delta ×2. Death Shadow the draw.
That'll play.
Generally does.
Duffy definitely looking for a backup threat to rebuild with.
There's an Ox. Top card's going to move to the bottom and draw. Swamp. Shadow. Pass. Let's go back over to Collins now. No removal spell off the top this time. Looks like it was a Sanctum of Ugin. He'll play the Waste, simply pass the turn back. McDuffie will draw. Picked up a Snapcaster Mage, always a good one. Korey will fan it out. Get an idea of what he's working with down there. Thoughtseize, Thought Scour Opt. That's what the Atlanta native's looking at. See in his hand, he's got a Teamer Battle Rage. That's just a one of in his deck.
And no real incentive, I think, to do anything right this moment. Can just pass and Snapcaster Opt if he wants to. Leave up his mana.
That's a Snapcaster Mage.
I guess Snapcaster Mage for Opt is part of the reason for doing this now is if you find Street Wraith.
Sure, cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. Make Death Shadow a little bit larger.
Right.
He's going to keep the card he found. Here comes Death Shadow. He'll pass the turn back. Mullen. Another land. There's a Sanctum. Pass the turn back. Korey fades another draw step. Let's go back over to McDuffie. Yeah, if he can find a way to get his life total a little bit lower, that's going to be the goal.
Yeah, I think he just picked up a. It looks like he picked up a Bloodstained Mire.
Yeah, he did.
In which case, that allows him to enable Teamer Battle Rage, and imagine we'll be looking at lethal here in a moment.
Yeah, and I actually think Korey has a Dismember in hand too.
He can dismember his own Snapcaster Mage as well.
So if he wants to go for the W right now, he definitely can. It's just a question of if he will. He'll sacrifice Bloodstained Mire. Get himself a Blood Grip. Gonna fall down to 7. Yeah, it looks a little bit weird, but it's got to be done. Gonna fall down to 3. See you later, Snapcaster Mage. In. For a whole bunch. And you know the best part?
Didn't have to show it.
Didn't have to show Teamer Battle Rage. Korey McDuffie going to win game number 1 here over Collins Mullen. Grixis Death Shadow very quickly up a game over Eldrazi-Tron. As E-Tron's hand got picked apart and no timely top decks. We'll see if Collins can top deck well in game number 2. But first, we got a couple messages from our sponsors.
Go.
Take a look at some sideboards here between Korey, McDuffie, and Collins Mullen. We will start with Mullen and his 2 Warping Whales, 2 Hangerback Walkers, 2 Sorcerers, Spyglass, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Relic Progenitus, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon, Crucible Worlds, and the old Basilisk Collar.
Do we have, what's our Ghost Quarter type account here to pair with the Crucible?
I got 1 Ghost Quarter, 1 Field of Ruin.
I buy the Crucible here.
Okay.
I'll get busy with that. I like the 2 copies of Hangerback Walker in this matchup, and the 2 copies of Relic to disrupt the graveyard.
For Korey McDuffie, it's 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Surgical Extraction. He's got a ton of 1-ups here in Blood Crypt, Collective Brutality, Disdainful Stroke, Kolaghan's Command, Liliana the Veil, Liliana the Last Hope, Arachnos Charm, Stubborn Denial, and an additional copy of Teamer Battle Rage.
I like the 1 copy of Disdainful Stroke and the 2 surgical Ceremonious Rejections, rather. You can talk me into the Teamer Battle Rage in this matchup, too. I don't think McDuffie wants to play the longest game here. Not the easiest card for Mullen to interact with because it doesn't have a lot in the way of discard or removal or counter spells. So I think a second copy here is justified.
Well, those are the sideboards there for each player, and we are going to turn our attention to Korey McDuffie, the 25-year-old from Atlanta, Georgia, member of Team Lotus Box, as is his opponent, Collins Mullen. 8 open top 8s, 2 open wins there for McDuffie, most notably his win in Atlanta a couple of years ago, where he did play the old Atarka Red deck. He won the 2014 Yu-Gi-Oh! National Championship, uncle of 2 orange tabby cats, and he loves himself some death metal, trust me. Plus, really, we could have another bullet point, the hair. I want that hair. I do.
It's been the same cut for a while.
I know, I wouldn't change a thing.
He and I battled at a Grand Prix over 10 years ago. It looked the same.
I always think of Korey as kind of a young kid because I've known him for so long.
Yeah, we all get old, man.
Yeah, and it's depressing, it really is. But I played him in a Grand Prix, too, in Boston Worcester in 2011, 2012, I think. Looks the exact same. Still the same guy. Good kid. Really good Magic player, too. And what we've seen here, by the way, for those of you following the team aspect of the tournament, Team Lotus Box, Collins Mullen, Korey McDuffie here, they're playing each other at 6-1, and Zan Saeed and Jonathan Rawson, they play each other, I believe, at 6-0,
Very good.
5-0.
Very good performance thus far.
Yeah, so these gentlemen, this squad, doing very, very well for themselves here this weekend in Columbus. First Open of 2018 here on the SCG Tour, making it look pretty easy. Some other teams have shown up, like all the members of Team BCW, but they're not having the same weekend that McDuffie, Mullen, and the rest of Team Lotus Box are having. Mullen going to take a long look at his hand. You can see there's at least an Urza's Mine in there. Not sure if he's close to finishing the Tron or not. But he says he's going to keep, as will Korey, so we'll be underway here in game number 2. It's an Urza's Mine and just a passing of the turn there for Collins. For Korey McDuffie, it's a Watery Grave. Going to bring him down to 18. He's on his way down the hill with his Death Shadow deck. Mullen now will play an Urza's Power Plant. Does he have the Tower of Power? We'll find out after another draw step, as McDuffie is going to Thought Scour himself. Tarn, Serum Visions go to the graveyard. Blood Crypt to the draw. McDuffie now untapping and drawing for his second turn. Picked up a copy of Death Shadow. McDuffie a little bit to think about. He's not close enough to Death Shadow just yet, it would appear. Let's have a fetch land. He can put himself down to 15. Slow play some things for right now, though, will Korey. So we head back over to Collins, who's picked up a copy of Ratchet Bomb. You can bring your voucher to the stage. Bomb great against Death Shadow, not so much against the Del threats. Finding at Snapcaster Mage, but certainly not exciting. Mullen playing Eldrazi Temple. Now he'll play that Ratchet Bomb. By the end of the day tomorrow. Finally, we are taking Bomb's good. For tomorrow's classic event. We have a Modern Classic at 9 a.m. as well as a Legacy Classic at 9:30. If you'd like to. Well, McDuffie is just going to pass. Well, excuse me, he's just going to draw. Nothing to do on Collins' end step. Wasn't sure if he wanted to fire off one of those Snapcaster Mages or not, but he doesn't.
I think McDuffie's just setting up here for a pretty long game, and it's hard to just Snapcaster and beat this deck down. They don't take damage on their own lands, and they play with a lot of blockers. So want to wait, want to be patient.
And there goes Scalding Tarn. there's a steam vents. And there's a blood crypt. So down to 13 right now is McDuffie. And now here's Snapcaster Mage in combination with Serum Vision. So he'll draw. When's Korey going to turn that deck around since he has a turnaround?
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not the only one who's noticing this,
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
dude, just spin it around, man. Just spin it around.
Seems to be like pretty clearly frustrating you.
Yeah.
Just turn around.
Just spin it around, Korey.
Just turn that, you know.
It'd be driving me nuts. Korey going to take a long time here with the scry. Make sure he sets himself up pretty well because thus far, Mullen not really doing all that much, but you have to imagine it's kind of the calm before the storm here. Mullen does have an Endbringer in hand as an example, also has a copy of All Is Dust.
I mean, you're guessing that his hand's got to be kind of soft at this point because he could have played Thought-Knot Seer or any other creature really last turn.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're worried, maybe Reality Smasher is a concern for the following turn, but you probably don't have to worry about Mullen playing anything really big unless he rips Tower, most likely.
McDuffie happy to keep both on top. Ratchet Bomb will get a counter. Let's go back over to Mullen now, who will draw a card. He's found a Sanctum of Ugin. That one does not complete the Tron. Also does not allow him to play Endbringer here, as he only have access to 5 Eldrazi mana. Perhaps it's time for a Reality Smasher? It's a Walking Ballista for 2. One of these days I'll guess correctly. Snapcaster Mage is dead for now, though. And we're going to go over to Korey. Korey's going to draw. Picked up a Thoughtseize. Kolaghan's Command in hand for Korey, along with a bevy of other cards, honestly. His hand is loaded up. I'm curious to see where he wants to start. He's going to go Kolaghan's Command, 2 damage to Walking Ballista, and kill Ratchet Bomb. That's a good use of that card.
And 2 targets here, so no way for Mullen to fizzle it.
Mm-hmm.
Just has to decide if he wants to shoot McDuffie for 1 or not.
Which is risky, honestly, because now he puts it in the range to be able to actually cast Death Shadow.
Yeah, 13 to 12 is an important inflection point.
Dismember the draw. Mullen will play a land. He'll try to bring the end with an Endbringer. Gonna head back over to Korey now. This will be his 5th turn of the game. Korey again with a ton of cards in hand right now.
Yeah, but can he beat the board?
That's the question.
Not the easiest threat for him to get off the battlefield here.
No, Endbringer's a good one.
2 copies to Dismember. That's the cleanest.
Any Liliana of the Veils? I don't think so. He's got 1 on the board.
Last Hope. No Liliana of the Veils into the deck.
Okay.
And Endbringer with a lot of mana can contain several threats on the other side of the battlefield. So really a premium on being able to kill it.
Again, right now we are in McDuffie's upkeep.
He knows the top card of his deck is Ceremonious Rejection, and he may not want it at this point because he needs to find a removal spell.
Well, he's decided he does not want it. Korey's going to turn this card around, too. Drew a copy of Street Wraith. He's too zoned in to flip his deck around. Maybe when he fetches. I don't think he's only... he's fetched a couple times,
these
actually.
These are hard turns.
Yeah?
These are hard turns. And sometimes you can only focus on one thing at a time.
It's definitely true.
I can focus on the match or flip my deck around, but not both.
Yeah.
Right now, it's more important for me to focus on the match.
Here's a Death Shadow. There's a Death Shadow. Pass the turn back. Korey posturing a little bit here. He has a Street Wraith in his hand.
Yep. I like sitting here and waiting. Try to induce maybe a Ballista.
Yep. Endbringer activation, a bunch of other stuff. Another Endbringer draw in there for Collins, by the way. But I do like this play. It's a little fancy, but I like it. There's a waste. This thing does a lot, does this Eldrazi. 6 mana, 5/5. Untap Endbringer during each other player's untap step. You can tap it to deal 1 to target creature or player. You can use a colorless and tap it. Target creature can't attack or block this turn. 2 colorless and tap it. Draw a card. Endbringer's going to try to kill Death Shadow. Korey says, I'm going to cycle Street Wraith, pay 2 life to do it. Which means Death Shadow's a 3/3 that's got damage on it.
And this is sort of I think this is a predictable outcome here from Mullen's side, because if McDuffie played both the Death Shadows and had no cover, then you go shoot on my turn and then shoot on your upkeep. So Mullen probably knew he was no good here. Can't be surprised.
I would hope he's not surprised. I'll say that. Looks like it might be time for a Dismember. Looks like Mullen has 2 of those in his hand, so he'll use Dismember to take care of a Death Shadow. Pay 4 life, of course, to do it. So he'll fall down to 16. And now another one. So Death Shadows are going to exit the battlefield. Now Endbringer will untap.
And I think McDuffie at this point really just drawing to his 2 copies of Dismember to get out from under this.
Well, I believe he found 1 off of the cycling of Street Wraith.
Because Endbringer can manage a whole lot on the other side of the table.
And if it's not managing things on the other side of the table, it's drawing cards.
Yeah. Which
is something that this Eldrazi Tron deck is always in the market for, given that it does not do that very well. Well, there's Dismember. Korey's going to pay 4 life. It looks like Collins is going to use Endbringer to draw a card. Yep. Picked up a Matter Reshaper. So Endbringer down. That problem is solved, at least for now. Oh, Korey has 2 more Death Shadows. That's fun.
Yeah, now the question is if he wants to play around a spell or not. You can play both, or he can play 1 and leave up Stubborn Denial.
He could also play 1 and just play Thoughtseize.
Yep.
It's got a lot of options here. But if he plays both and maybe gets hit by an All is Dust, it's bad news. I wonder which route he'll take, the conservative approach or the more risky one.
I don't think Thoughtseize is... I like just doing this. Mullen has so many just huge draws from this spot. He's just picked up a card that you didn't know about. That could be anything.
Endbringer and Matter Reshaper are the hits.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to me. I thought that he was going to take the Matter Reshaper in this spot.
Okay.
Because he was just going to force a chump block next turn anyway. And you'd much rather have him be chump blocking with an Endbringer than a Matter Reshaper.
True.
Because Matter Reshaper does something on the way out the door, and he can pair it with a second play, as we see here.
Well, not 1, but 2. Matter Reshapers are in the house. There's an attack. And there's your block. No surprise there. Trigger. See how this goes for Collins. All right. It's a land, and there's his mine. See what the follow-up is here for Korey. Again, his hand is loaded up. Another copy of Death Shadow. Pass the turn back.
Doesn't have to worry about Ratchet Bomb. That's too slow.
I think Korey has Snapcaster Mage in hand and Ceremonious Rejection in the graveyard, too.
Yeah, he's pretty well situated then.
Didn't get a great look at the draw there from Mullen. Korey's also got Stubborn Denial in hand, too. So he's actually got a lot of things covered right now. Mullen just going to pass the turn back. I'm trying to think of what Colin's best draw is, assuming that there is one.
Well, I don't know if he has a draw step that matters through ceremonious rejection and stubborn denial.
Yeah. McDuffie, I think, might be sacrificing here. Yep. So going down to 3, potentially down to 1, which will make Death Shadows into 12-12s.
And he's doing it with stubborn denial cover too, so hard to imagine this going wrong.
Korey will draw. Picked up a Scalding Tarn. I wouldn't sack that. Here's an attack for 12. Let's make it 24. Good block. That's going to do it. Korey McDuffie's going to win this game and match here over Colin's Mullen. As Grixis Death Shadow makes it pretty easy work here over Eldrazi Tron. If McDuffie, number 18 on our SCG Tour leaderboard here in Season 1, he's going to slide up to 7-1. Death Shadow deck he's very familiar with, and you can see why. Played it well.